everybody, it's Ann Stansel, owner of Fleet Feet here in Tucson, and I'm very excited to share the conversation that I just had with Jonathan Reel, who is the representative that we work with at Karhu, which is a fantastic shoe brand that you might not have heard of or be super familiar with. We just got in the brand new Karhu Fusion, and I thought that would be a great opportunity to sit down with Jonathan and talk about all things Karhu. So pull up a chair and let's get ready to run with the bear. All right, thanks so much, Jonathan. I appreciate you sitting down and chatting about Karhu with us this evening. So, just to start our conversation, can you tell us a little bit about the history of Karhu, sort of where the brand is coming from, and maybe some interesting facts that people might not know?
Yeah, of course. So the company is coming up on its almost 106th year of existence. It was founded in 1916. We're originally a company that was based and founded in Finland, specifically Helsinki. And the very, very early days of it, basically the late 19-teens, we specialized in making javelins, discus, and cross-country skis, all out of birchwood. As we evolved through the years, Karhu actually has a super unique history that a lot of people don't know about. The next kind of evolution in the history of the brand was really in the 1920s, 1930s. And we kind of created this tagline called the Flying Finns. And at that point is when a lot of the Finnish Olympic athletes, especially in the distance running world, were starting to become gold medalists, winning multiple medals at every Olympics, becoming very, very well known around the world. And they were all wearing Karhu footwear at that point. And then as we kind of progressed through the decades, really the next big step was in the 1950s. We actually had an interesting conversation with a gentleman based out of Germany that if you look at Karhu's original logo, has a very recognizable 3-item logo on the side of the shoe.
Oh, okay.
And the reason there was a lot of interest with that is Adi Dassler, founder of Adidas, was very enamored with Karhu and how high technical performance the product was and the footwear and everything like that. And so he actually bought the logo. And the story goes that at the 1952 Helsinki Olympics, we sold the logo for 1,600 euros and 3 very high quality bottles of whiskey. So
wow.
Whether you feel like that's a fair trade or not, I don't know, but it happened.
All right.
And then really the next kind of big innovative thing that happened was in the 1970s, early 1970s, we were actually the first company to put air in our shoes. So we actually had air pockets,
That's right.
specifically starting in the heel and kind of dabbled with the forefoot of the shoe and stuff like that. And then in the 1980s is where we came out with our fulcrum technology. And that was really kind of our next big technology innovation aspect. Cool. And really kind of harnessing that. And then most recently, probably I guess coming up on 4 years ago, is when we started using the Fit ID technology that Fleet Feet uses.
Awesome. So that's a great segue into the second question that I have, which is, we have a very great relationship and partnership together, Fleet Feet and Karhu. You could only find these models and the specialty shoes at Fleet Feet. How did that partnership come about? Like where did that start, and how do you think that is continuing to evolve?
Yeah. So really where it started was Fleet Feet, especially in the US and in kind of the specialty world, is known as being a really premier retailer, providing high levels of customer service and premium products and things like that. And for a while, essentially from the early 1990s until about 2008, 2009, Karhu was pretty much non-existent in the US. It was really only in Europe. And at that point, there was a little bit of an ownership change, and the new CEO at the time, he really wanted to kind of get back into the specialty world, especially in the US. And so conversations kind of started happening with different retailers and things like that. And really it kind of almost came a little bit to like a light bulb moment with Fleet Feet, kind of realizing this could be actually like a perfect scenario to kind of reintroduce Karhu back into the market. And then knowing that Fit ID, 3D scanning, was coming down the pipeline not too far in the future, was something that was very interesting to us, to be able to use the technology and kind of advanced footwear and things like that. So yeah, like you said, it's specifically in the US, it's Fleet Feet exclusive.
Right. And so the Fit ID, because of course that's the 3D imaging program that we use to fit footwear, Karhu is actually taking that data to design the shoes, right? I mean, that's how it's working. So it's based off of real feet, based off of our customers' feet, which is even cooler. So, everyone that has come in to Fleet Feet to get scanned, over the last few years has had a part in the design of these shoes, right?
Yep, 100%. So, yeah, the model right behind,
the Iconi.
right here, the Iconi, that came out about 2.5 years ago, and that was the first shoe that was fully developed off of the Fit ID scans. So we took 100,000 customer scans in the system at that point, kind of looked at all the data, looked at the foot shape, width, instep height, all the different measurements, and kind of basically created a shoe off of that. So while it's not 3D made like out of a machine, it kind of is the most real example of being a 3D made shoe.
Yeah, and they're super comfy. I am wearing them, and I wear them a lot. I like them. And you kind of spoke a little bit to, I think, one of the signature engineering and design elements of the Karhu shoes, which is the fulcrum. So my question for you, Jonathan, is what is the fulcrum, and why should we care about it?
The most important question. So essentially the fulcrum is our technology that we put in our 3 models that we make. And why it's important is the idea and the way a fulcrum works is it's taking the energy that is coming from one direction and it's pushing it in another direction. And the whole idea with that is you're trying to minimize the loss of that energy.
Okay.
So if you think about when you're walking or running, you're going forward, you're trying to move as efficiently forward as you possibly can. So all 3 of our shoes have a fulcrum in it, and depending on the model, the length of the fulcrum is slightly different. So as an example, the Iconi is got a half-length fulcrum, so basically half of the shoe has a curved piece embedded in the shoe that helps propel you forward, helps move that energy forward.
Right. I mean, it kind of acts almost as that. I mean, you can feel it when you wear the shoes that you get this definite kind of little bit of push forward. You can kind of tell that there's an energy transfer, which I think is really, really neat. So.
Yeah, definitely. And depending on the models, so we have a Iconi, and then we have the one in the middle here called the Synchron, and then the Fusion, which just came out last week. So all the Fleet Feets in the country are getting that guy right now. All 3 models have a slightly different length fulcrum to them. So they all feel slightly different underneath the foot, just based on the length of that fulcrum.
Excellent. Cool. So I guess the last question I have is, for you, you've been working with Karhu now for
a little over a year.
Excellent. Yep. What are you most excited about? Looking forward, we continue to see amazing things come out with Karhu. I feel like every time we sit down and look at shoes, they feel better, they're performing amazing. What's exciting? What are you really looking forward to?
Yeah. So I would say the thing that I'm most excited about, one, the most current, is the new Fusion. It's radically different from the previous version, but it's definitely already we're seeing the data in terms of sales and things like that customers are really resonating with it, staff are really liking it, Fleet Feet's doing really, really well. But the really cool thing is kind of going back to the Fit ID, the fact that we can use those scans to help create the product means we can adapt and change much faster. So it means that if we see a woman's foot is shaped slightly different than a man's, and it's in this, maybe it's the instep height, or maybe it's the heel, we can automatically start making adjustments and changes to future product coming down the road. So we're able to adapt and change much quicker. And then we're working on, without giving too much away, we're working on a few other categories of stuff. One of them might be the non-paved surfaces.
All right. Okay. Excellent. We've got a lot of those here in
There you
Tucson,
go.
so that's exciting. Okay.
And then, one thing that, without getting too much into it, we do have a version of our shoes called Hivo,
Right.
which stands for high volume. It's kind of our version of a wide, but it really is a higher volume option. And that has resonated really well with staff and stores across the country and customers. So it's definitely something that we're looking into, like, how can we pull this in either all three of our shoes consistently, or is there a different type of shoe we can create for that specific customer, or different things like that?
Absolutely. I know it's been really helpful for us because, in a traditional wide shoe, it's really only taking into account one measurement. And with the Hivo models from Karhu, we really can fit different feet better and get that fit dialed in. So that's been really fantastic for us.
Yeah, definitely.
Excellent. Well, of course, we know that you're going to be really excited to come in and try the Karhus, and we hope you do. Jonathan, thank you again so much for taking the time, and we're definitely excited about continuing our partnership. It's been exciting and valuable, and definitely a great addition to our footwear lineup here at Fleet Feet. And yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, you're welcome. Okay, Jonathan, I've got one last question. What's the deal with the bear?
Great question. So Karhu actually means bear in Finnish.
Oh,
So.
I actually knew that, but I bet they didn't.
Now you do.
All right, well, thanks again so much for sitting down and talking about all things Karhu. I know everybody's just super excited to come in and check them out.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, you're very welcome.